What is up, everyone? This is Scott from the College Sports Hive, and it is time for my first ever Stevens Sports Sunday. So these are going to be a weekly installment of my own little personal segment to our podcast. I'm going to look beyond the realm of college sports into the rest of the sports world, and I like to pride myself as a guy that kind of knows and understands and engages with a whole bunch of different sporting leagues. And so with that being said, I feel very obligated to be able to present those as well. So that's going to be what I try and do on these. I'm going to take you through what I believe the average sports fan should know that happened in the prior week of sports activity. So it's going to be fresh. It's going to be new. It's going to be updated week by week. I'm going to try and bring some guests on to help me out with some different things. I have a little hint and a teaser as to who I have coming up. It's going to be great. Stay tuned for that. I'm very excited to bring that to y'all. Sometimes it's going to be I'll bring a friend on and we'll just talk about some random sports and how they've engaged in things like that, just freshen things up, liven things up. There's a lot that happens outside of the realm of college sports. I know this is the College Sports Hive, and our goal is to present that information to y'all as well. And with that being said, I do have some college in here, but it's mostly tailored to the University of Utah for those Utah-based Utah fans that follow us. Hopefully you all will enjoy that. It'll be a weekly update of what is happening around the world of the University of Utah athletics. I do go to the University of Utah. I do have an internship with the Utah athletics department. I'm very plugged in as to what's happening up there. So as much as we try and remain unbiased and things like that, I do feel not obligated, but qualified to speak on the matter of the University of Utah and happenings there. So with that being said, we can jump right in, and I'll start all of these episodes off with my most important thing, the thing that I want y'all to take away from the last week of sport. And unfortunately, there was some bad news last week. Star everything golfer Tiger Woods was in a horrifying car accident on Tuesday, February 23rd. 2021. All reports say that he was sober, not under the influence of any drugs of any kind. It was simply just an accident. There's a lot of speculation going around when footage of the car came out. I'm going to put in the graphic for all of you watching on YouTube or Instagram. Check out what the car looked like. It was just stunning, to be honest with you. When this news broke, I felt sick to my stomach, like a lot of people around the world. I grew up watching golf as a kid. Tiger Woods was a mainstay in those tournaments. He's the most dominant figure in sports that I can remember from my early life. And there was no wonder why the sports world was just completely thrown for a loop in this. It reminded me a lot of what happened with Kobe Bryant last year when he died in that horrific helicopter accident. This car is mangled. It is destroyed. Hard to believe that someone in that car survived this car accident. So there was a lot of people just praying that he got out of that situation with his life. So thankfully he is alive. He's healthy. He's healthy in that aspect of things. He has a bad compound fracture on both his tibia and his fibula. So they're completely broken, as well as what doctors have called a quote unquote shattered ankle. So the road for recovery is going to be immense. And I think what Rory McIlroy said when interviewed about it as they were preparing for the World Golf Championship, which we'll get to here in a minute once I talk about the PGA Tour. He said he's just thankful that he's alive and he gets to go on and continue to spend time with his kids, continue to spend time building those relationships with his girlfriend, with his family, his kids, things like that. This dude has been through so much in his life. He's been through pain. He's been through mistakes that he's made personally. Those have been well documented. He's been through incredible triumphs, incredible success, and the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. And this is another really painful reminder about the kind of fragility is a better word of life, and especially what it's been for Tiger Woods. He was recovering from his 5th back operation. He wasn't even playing at this point in time. He was on his way to a golf course to give lessons to Drew Brees and Justin Herbert, and shoot for a movie, I think that was directed by Oprah. And so just the impact that this guy's had on not only the game of golf, but athletes in sports around the world. There was an outcry of support for Tiger and the recovery that he's going to have to make in the next few years, I would say. And at this point, golf's completely on the back burner. We all want Tiger Woods to play golf again. We all want to see him compete. But with that being said, that's completely out of the picture at this point in time. I'm just very thankful to hear that he is alive, recovering, responsive. Things like that are big takeaways and big sort of gestures of good news. And hopefully he gets onto the road to recovery, and we can just continue to see him kind of building on that joy that we saw in him when he played with his kid at the PNC. For those of you who don't know, that was a father-son invitational. He brought out his son, Charlie, and played golf with him. That was just a tremendous scene to see how happy they both were together in that relationship. But yeah, enough about Tiger Woods. Very bad car accident. If you didn't see it in the news, now you know. And we will jump down into University of Utah sports. So like I said, I do attend the U. I'm in my final semester of a journalism degree. But there are sporting teams that are doing amazing things that need to be covered here. And first things first, I want to give a big shout out to the Utah gymnastics team. The Red Rocks are 8-1 on their season, and they're unbeaten in the John M. Huntsman Center at home. They're 4-0. They put out a very close meet on against Cal on Friday night to keep that streak alive of home wins. They are ranked number 4 in the country, and they have an away meet with Oregon State and a home meet with Utah State remaining before they travel to West Valley City a couple minutes down the road, down I-15 to compete for the Pac-12 championship here in Salt Lake City in the Maverick Center. Their only loss is to Oklahoma down in Norman. So Oklahoma is one of the better gymnastics programs in the country, and the Red Rocks are right up there with them. So shout out to the Red Rocks. Incredible things coming out of Utah gymnastics. Must see TV when you get the chance to go on and watch them. I highly recommend it. It's energetic. It's lively, and gymnastics is honestly one of the more impressive sports that I've watched. And our university has just a tremendous program that puts forward a quality product year in and year out. Last year, they were stripped with the opportunity to go and compete for a Pac-12 championship. They were the Pac-12 regular season champions. They weren't able to compete in the Pac-12 championship due to the COVID issue that shut down sports. So they weren't able to be crowned overall Pac-12 champions. And also they had aspirations of competing on the national level for a national championship. So hopefully, fingers crossed, all of that remains the case. And in terms of COVID issues of everything going on schedule here this March in comparison to last March, as we move the calendar back to March, but I swear we were just in March. So yeah, hopefully all things, that was kind of a tangent, so sorry about that, but hopefully all things remain positive, and Utah Gymnastics is able to take their talents to postseason play and really put on a show for everyone. Another team that is doing very well is the Utah women's volleyball team. They're 8-0 as well in their year. They're playing just a completely Pac-12 based schedule. They've had 2 games canceled against Oregon. They had a set with 2 games there with Oregon that were canceled. I'm not entirely sure of the reasoning as to why that was. I'm sure it had some issue with COVID-19. Their lone loss was against the Washington Huskies in straight sets on Friday night. They will play them on Saturday, and that will be another tough game, another top 10 ranked matchup as they are ranked, as the University of Utah team is ranked 7th in the country. And this is a team that's coming off of their deepest run into the NCAA tournament. Last time that the gymnastics national tournament was put on, this team made it to the national semifinals. They had a tremendous run, and they took Stanford to 5 sets, and Stanford was the eventual national champion. So, and Stanford didn't lose a set after that. So pretty remarkable story of what Utah volleyball has done in the last 2 years. And this is another team where I'm really excited to see them be able to go on and compete in Pac-12 and national tournaments down the stretch. And this is a team that we really need to show our support for. Both of these programs are programs that don't necessarily get some of the limelight that football does, that basketball does, and they put on just such a quality product. And so give your support, give them some views, give them some likes, whatever you want to do. Shout out to both volleyball and gymnastics. They've been absolutely killing it so far this year for the Utes. All right, so I'm going to transition to football and talk University of Utah football here for a minute. So I'm going to talk basically a couple different transfer news issues from the month of February. The University of Utah landed a 4-star linebacker transfer from Alabama named Ale Cahoe. He'll join a defense and a linebacker core in particular that's fairly loaded with Devin Lloyd, returner. He's going to be a senior. He's been a beast for a couple years now. Nephi Sewell was a breakout performer last year, and company, and so he joins a crowded room and makes them a whole lot better. On other news on the defensive side of the ball, Pga Tour, the defensive tackle, will be transferring, as well as Sione Lund, an inside linebacker, and Bronson Boyd, ex-wide receiver / cornerback. They've all entered the transfer portal, and none of them have a known destination at this point. In big news, big painful news for the Utes football team, wide receiver Brian Thompson has decided to transfer. He is going to Arizona State, which is unfortunate because they are becoming one of the more prominent threats in the Pac-12 South Division. And so you never want to see one of your more talented wide receivers leave your program, let alone go to not a rival team per se, but a team that's definitely on the rise and a scary offense at that with Jaden Daniels and company. So that one hurts. That one hurts a lot. That's pretty much, I saw on Twitter, someone said this is the first oh crap moment of the offseason. The Ty Jordan news was definitely devastating. That was an oh crap moment, but this is definitely bad news. I think Brian Thompson was very underutilized in the Utah system. I think he has some of the biggest amount of just gross talent in a Utah receiver that I've seen in a few years. And that goes back to Tim Patrick. That goes back to guys like that. That goes back to Darren Carrington, who was underutilized when he transferred here from Oregon. It's kind of a problem, I would say. Utah always usually finds a way to create talent and use that talent on the outside in the ways that they need to. They still have playmakers on the outside, but it transitions me beautifully into Samson Nakua has also announced that he is entering the transfer portal, and he does not have a known home as of now. But that's another big loss for the Utes, as he was a guy that was always around making big plays in big games on the outside. So those are big losses on the outside. They still have Solomon Enos as of right now. Britton Covey is still somehow playing for Utah, despite a couple different knee injuries and a bunch of different years being here. He's been here longer than I have, so that's a pretty big achievement for him. Just a personal diss there. Anyway. And they have Jalen Dixon returning from the transfer portal. He opened up his recruiting again, said he was transferring, and then decided to return to the University of Utah. So that's a good win. That's a big win. And they still have Grant Keithy, dominant pass catcher as a tight end. And they have guys that they can surround themselves with, but definitely those two losses hurt in Thompson and Nakua transferring. The last little bit of news in the transfer portal is our punter, Ben Lennon, will be transferring. No known home yet for him either, but he has entered the transfer portal. So with that being said, in the next coming weeks, I will be sitting down and talking with Bill Riley, the radio voice of the Utah Utes and the host of the Bill Riley Show on ESPN 700. I'm sure all of you know who Bill Riley is. I'm very much looking forward to this. We're gonna talk all Utah football. We're gonna talk about all of these transfers, a couple of different things that have happened, people that have transferred into the Utah program, such as Charlie Brewer, the quarterback from Baylor, TJ Pledger, I almost forgot his name, the running back from Oklahoma, and we got an LSU running back as well. So big news there to talk with Bill about, and I'm very excited to get his reactions, his thoughts, and be able to share some of those things and how those will impact the Utes coming up next season. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be a great episode coming out about that. I'm really looking forward to spending that time with him and discussing that. So that's my little teaser. Make sure to stay tuned, and that's coming. So make sure to watch out for all of that. So those are my thoughts about the University of Utah athletics. Basketball is kind of in a bit of a shamble. I'm going to kind of leave that at that. And other spring sports are just starting to heat up. So I'll have more news coming from those as well. So in future episodes. So we'll turn things out into the rest of the world and the rest of the sporting leagues and things like that. So I have 4 different ones that'll cover today. And the first is the NBA. And there's a lot of NBA podcasts out there. I'm from Salt Lake City. Well, I live in Salt Lake City now, from Pennsylvania originally, but you can't not love the craze that is going on right now in Salt Lake City around the NBA. The Utah Jazz have the best record in the NBA at 26-7. They are 3 games ahead of the Clippers for first place in the Western Conference standings, and it's buzzing here, to be honest. There's a lot of people that think this team's still underrated, even though they are leading the Western Conference. They have this tremendous record, and I kind of agree with them. I do think they are still a little bit underrated. Their 3-point shooting is tremendous. The way they're able to spread the ball, spread the floor. Donovan Mitchell is just an absolute joy to watch play basketball. Rudy Gobert is a tremendous defender. They're both elected to the All-Star game. There's a lot going for the Utah Jazz. They've been an absolute joy to watch. They've been dominating what's happening in the NBA. So good stuff for sure. In terms of just regionally based in Salt Lake City here, it's been a buzz about the Jazz, and they've been the talk of the NBA so far. So the 76ers are the Eastern Conference leader at 22-11. They have a very talented roster as well. That is a conference that is still loaded with chasers. The Celtics have a very good roster, but they've kind of been in turmoil recently. The Brooklyn Nets have the biggest big 3 in all of basketball right now, with Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden in that blockbuster trade that went through earlier on this year. So there's a lot of people chasing them in the Eastern Conference, but right now the 76ers are holding serve at 22-11 with the Eastern Conference lead. I'm not the biggest NBA guy, just to put it out there. I will tune into what's going on. I do love watching the NBA playoffs. I think it's one of the better playoff environments and things like that in all of sports. So I love watching the NBA playoffs. But with that being said, I will do my best to keep you posted on standings, things like that, injuries. Anthony Davis is out right now with an ankle injury for the Lakers. He's not going to play in the All-Star game. That's been hurting them here and there. So as I plug myself for my NBA knowledge, but no, I'll do my best to keep you all posted on what's happening in the NBA. It's a massive organization, and y'all know, and y'all need to know like the ins and outs of what's happening there. So I'll do my best to keep you posted on that. I do love the MLB, and I played baseball my entire life growing up, and baseball is back. Live baseball is back this weekend with the first spring training games of the season. I know baseball is one of the longest seasons in the world. They play 100 and however many games. Spring training, does it even matter? Probably not. But if you're a baseball junkie like me, you're very happy to know that live baseball is back. It's almost one of those things where it's almost the turn to spring. And that's a very good feeling for a lot of people. So opening day is set for April 1st. So I don't really have a whole lot of content about the MLB right now. There's been a bunch of trades this offseason, a bunch of random signings. Nolan Arenado is now playing for the St. Louis Cardinals, which is super weird. The Mets traded for Francisco Lindor and Carlos Carrasco, which was a big move. And there's just a bunch of different things happening throughout the country in terms of baseball. The Padres had a massive offseason. They just re-signed Fernando Tatis for like 14 years, $400-some million. Their stud young shortstop. So that's impressive. They also signed Blake Snell, who's an NL Cy Young winner. and who for some reason was not re-signed by Tampa Bay. And a couple other different guys, a couple other different pieces that really are going to make San Diego a huge contender in the NL West to push for the reigning champion Dodgers to the brink. I'm pretty sure you're going to have some really high quality games between those two teams. Every time they play, it's already a rivalry, and sort of in recent years, the Dodgers have been kind of dominating that rivalry. I don't think so this year. I think the Padres really have a roster that can not only compete with the Dodgers, but really push them to the limit. And that's saying something, because the Dodgers are so good, just so good. Speaking of the Dodgers and off-season moves, they signed the latest NL Cy Young and Trevor Bauer. So that's just bolstered their insane pitching rotation already. So good stuff there for the MLB. There's a lot to come. It's going to be a great season. I'm really looking forward to it. But as of right now, it's still February as I'm talking right now, but we're turning the calendar to March. So live baseball is coming this weekend, but not yet. And I'll keep baseball on the back burner for right now. A sport that is in full swing, though, is the NHL. I played hockey a few years. I love hockey. It's an amazing sport. And this is a different year. They completely reshuffled the divisions. There are 4 divisions now. And it's basically they did that so the teams in the same regions will play one another, and so they don't have to travel across the country due to COVID restrictions, and trying to mitigate that travel process as much as possible. So I think that was a good move in the long term. But it's led to an interesting development of having a 56 game schedule where you only play the teams in your division. So you'll play the same team 7 or 8 different times a year. And that's a lot of time to play the same team. So with that being said, I'll take you through what the divisions look like as of right now. The Central Division, the Florida Panthers are leading that division at 13-4, and they have 28 points. So briefly, how the point system works for the NHL is whoever leads the standings has the most points. And so to get points, you get 2 points to win the game that you play outright. If you win it in regulation, you get 2 points. If you lose, you don't get a point, essentially. So if you go to overtime in a game, you're guaranteed a point. So those 2 points are split, and then the winner of the game in overtime will get a third point. So the winner will get 2, the loser will get 1 in the overtime game. And that's essentially how points work. So even if you lose 18 games in overtime, that would be kind of disappointing. You would still get 18 points out of it, which is not what you necessarily want, but it's still kind of a mini win, I guess, in a way. So that's kind of the way that all works. But so the Panthers have 28 points. The Lightning are right behind them. They're 13-4 with 27 points. The Lightning are the reigning Stanley Cup champions. And I think they're the scariest team in the NHL. The rest of the teams in that Central Division are the Chicago Blackhawks, the Carolina Hurricanes, the Columbus Blue Jackets, the Dallas Stars, Nashville Predators, and the Detroit Red Wings. Those are the teams that kind of round out the Central Division. So if you're a big fan of any of those teams, that's where you kind of want to look, and you'll see a lot of those matchups happening between all of those teams. So yeah. And then the Eastern Division is led by the Boston Bruins. They are 11-5 with 24 points. They're followed closely by the Washington Capitals, who are 10-5 with 24 points as well. I'm pretty sure all of the Capitals' losses have come in overtime, so that's why they have some points to go with as well there, as even though they have 5 losses. So, all right, the New York Islanders and the Rangers, both New York teams, the Philadelphia Flyers, the Pittsburgh Penguins, New Jersey Devils, and the Buffalo Sabres all wrap up that Eastern Division. So you'll see all of those teams kind of play one another time in and time out this season, which is really cool because you'll see Capitals, Penguins, which is becoming a rivalry. Back east where I'm from in Pennsylvania, Flyers, Penguins is a huge rivalry. Islanders, Rangers is a huge rivalry in New York. So you'll get to see those games happen 7 to 8 times this season. So if you're into that, it's must see TV for some people when those games happen, and it's really good stuff. So but it's just so much different than what the NHL season was before all of these changes. So that brings us out west, and we'll talk the Western Division, where the Vegas Golden Knights are leading at 11-4, 23 total points. The Minnesota Wild and the St. Louis Blues are tied for second place with 22 points. They're both 11. The Wild, are 11-6, and the Blues are 10-8. So the Blues have to have a lot of overtime losses as well. The rest of the division consists of the Colorado Avalanche, the Los Angeles Kings, the Phoenix Coyotes, San Jose Sharks, and the Anaheim Ducks. The North Division, as you could probably guess, is all of the Canadian teams in the NHL, and it's currently led by the Toronto Maple Leafs. They're 15-4, with 34 points. That is an NHL best. Chasing the Leafs are the Edmonton Oilers, who have a loaded roster as well. They're 14-8 on their year with 28 points. I'm pretty sure is what it is. And the rest of the teams in the North Division are the Winnipeg Jets, Calgary Flames, Montreal Canadiens, Vancouver Canucks, and the Ottawa Senators. So that rounds out all of the Canadian teams. So imagine all that Canadian bad blood going at one another 7 to 8 times a season. It's classic. It's crazy. So with that being said, that brings us to the PGA Tour. Last week, let's talk last week. Last week was the Genesis Invitational. It was held at Riviera Country Club, very famous country club right outside of LA, pretty much almost a couple steps from Sunset Boulevard. It was a gorgeous scene. It's a gorgeous golf course, always is. It's always a good time to tune into Riviera and see what's happening there. Max Homa is an American golfer who won that event, and he grew up just an hour away from Riviera, so it was a home game for him, and he was able to get it done in a pretty thrilling playoff over Tony Fenow. Max Homa hit a golf shot into 18 to about 3 feet, probably less than 3 feet, which is a very notoriously hard golf hole, and he had a couple foot long putt for birdie and the outright win on 18, and he missed it. It hit the hole and lipped out, and so him and Tony Fenow went into the playoff, and Max Homa hit a pretty remarkable pitch shot from behind a tree onto the green, made par, and then eventually was able to make par on the next playoff hole, and Tony Fenow wasn't able to get it up and down from the bunker to give Max Homa the win. Tony Fenow is a local guy from the Salt Lake area. He grew up playing Rose Park, which is a couple minutes away from me. He's had a very difficult time breaking through for his second PGA Tour win. He won in Puerto Rico a couple of years back. He's had 11 second place finishes since that time, which is just a crazy statistic. 11 second places. If you would say you split that and get 5 wins and 6 second places, you're talking he's won 6 times on the PGA Tour, and that's almost elite status at this point in time. And it's just insane to think about what this guy's has gone through. I think there's even a crazier stat of like 30 plus top 10s or something like that. And so it's hard to see Tony continuously be in that situation and not be able to get the job done. He's in his 30s now. So you don't want to say the clock is ticking, but he's not able to do the thing when he needs to do the thing, essentially. And so that's a little bit of local draw to that is a Salt Lake City kid going out there, and he's an absolutely amazing player. I do think he's very close to breaking through and winning again, but you have to sort of look at some of these opportunities as chances missed at this point in time with how many times he's been right there and not been able to get the job done. But anyway, transitioning back to Max Homa, the winner. He grew up an hour away from Riviera. Like I said, he continuously begged his dad as a kid to go down to Riviera and watch this golf event and just to kind of get a glimpse of the pros and of Tiger Woods, who happened to be the tournament host that week with proceeds benefiting the TGR Foundation, which is the foundation set up by Tiger Woods to help underprivileged, impoverished kids in bad areas of LA and the surround have access and resources to a better life. And so Tiger was there. Tiger was at the tournament. He awarded Max Homa the trophy, and Max is kind of just this normal guy. He's he's young. He really engages well with social media. So there's a lot of people that are really attracted to that in him. And he just seems like a pretty normal guy, joking around with people about their golf swings on Twitter and things like that. So, and he even said himself that when he was warming up on Saturday, he saw Tiger Woods and was too scared to go talk to him. And so he said, Tiger has to talk to me now because I won the golf tournament. So he tried for however many years as a kid trying to get a high five from Tiger at the Riviera, and the Genesis or LA Open when it was called that back then. And on last weekend, he got a trophy handed to him by the big cat himself. So good stuff there. Congratulations, Max Homa, big win. And then now this week, the world's best converge at Concessions Golf Club in Florida, and they will play in the first of 4 World Golf Championship events. This one is called the WGC Workday Invitational, and this is the 70 best players in the world converging at this place to compete in one of the biggest events of the season. This is the super season, they like to call it, of the PGA Tour. You have all 4 WGCs, all 4 major championships, which is obviously the Masters, the US Open, the Open Championship, and the PGA Championship. They have the Olympics and they have the Ryder Cup. So a bunch of team events in there as well. The Olympics is an individual event, but you still are playing for your country. You're still going out there trying to win a gold medal, which is, as Justin Rose proved in the last Olympics, is a huge thing that you can hold over a lot of people and something definitely worth playing for in the game of golf. The Ryder Cup is an event that happens every 2 years and is just a phenomenal display of pageantry and competition between the United States and Europe. It's steeped in tradition of things like that. So to see that on the calendar year again is very good. But these World Golf Championships are legit. To be at a World Golf Championship means you are among the 70 best players, and legitimately everyone that tees it up this week at this World Golf Championship Workday event has a chance to win this thing. And so it's really cool to see. I guess technically anyone who tees it up any given day, but you know what I mean. They legitimately have a bettor's odds to win the event. There's that many good players in the game right now. And it's one of the best. It's one of the best events. This is usually the week that they play the WGC Mexico, which is increasing year in, year out in popularity. And when the tour goes down to play in Mexico City, clearly due to COVID-19 conditions and restrictions, that has been moved to Florida. And so hopefully the tour is back in Mexico City next year to play the WGC Mexico Championship. But it is in Florida and it is going down this weekend. So if you're into that, it's a tremendous golf event that you won't want to miss. We are a little bit under a month and a half away from Augusta National. We have the Players Championship coming up in March, which is an enormous golf tournament in the landscape of things. It's essentially the 5th major of the year. So a lot on the year for golf. I'm a big golf guy. I'm rocking an Under Armour polo. Jordan Spieth is my man. He had another top 15 at Genesis, last week, which was good. He is not currently in position to play the WGC this week, so that's a little bit sad. But Jordan Spieth's been playing really great golf in 3 consecutive weeks. Gives me a lot of reason to hope and pray. But I'm going to have a lot of golf coverage. I'm a big golf fan, and it's one of the better sports out there, in my opinion. So that's going to do it on what I have for all of y'all on this first inaugural Steven Sports Sunday. I hope you all enjoyed that. We're going to have some graphics coming up to make this a little bit more smooth in terms of what my segment looks like in comparison to Leafs and things like that. So yeah, hopefully y'all enjoyed this format. Drop a like, drop a comment, whatever you want to do. Let us know if you like us coming on here individually. If you don't, I kind of think it's important to know what's happening in the world of sports outside of just college sports, especially basically just college basketball. That's what we are enjoying talking about right now and what we're very good at. So yeah, hopefully you all enjoy tuning in on Sunday and listening to me kind of brief what you should know about sports in the upcoming week. So let me know. DMs are open, whatever you want to do. If you want to get in contact with me to join me and talk about different things, I'd love to have a bunch of different people on. If you feel compelled to have something to say, I'm happy to hear it. And yeah, so things are evolving, things are changing. We're picking up the speed on when we're releasing things. We're putting out more content. We're increasingly becoming more digital oriented. So that's really fun. And hopefully y'all can get behind that, support that. We truly can't say thank you enough for the support that we've already gotten. So yeah, that's going to do it for me on this Sunday. And hopefully you all continue to take care, stay safe, keep socially distancing, keep wearing your masks. We're getting to a point where people are getting vaccinated. It's getting there. We're getting there. Spring's coming. I'm a big skier, so I'm not really that big of a believer in the whole, oh, spring's coming and we're almost out of winter. I do love winter. But with that being said, it's getting warmer. Stay safe, everyone. Take care. Catch you next time.